Hey everyone, it's great to be with you. I was just thinking about one of my jobs when I worked in the restaurant industry, and it was quite difficult because I had one of those bosses that are hard to please. Perhaps you understand this, where it seems like if you got any attention or went to the office, it would typically be for a negative reason or what did Nathan do wrong? And the things that I was doing to please my boss, that it didn't seem to catch her eye, or she wouldn't compliment me or recognize those things. It tend to be focused on the critical moments. And I thought about that and what it means in terms of pleasing. Because some people are hard to please, aren't they? There's that old adage that says you can't please all the people all the time. Well, can't even please some of the people all the time. But what does it mean for God? What's he like to please? There's a verse in Hebrews 11:6 that describes this perfectly and says this, that without faith, it is impossible to please God. Because anyone who comes to him, one, must believe that he exists, and two, that he rewards those who earnestly seek him. Now think about this for a moment. How do you please a God who is 100% perfect in all ways? I mean, he can see everything, do everything, and knows everything. On top of that, he's morally perfect, so it's not that we have to please him to make up for a deficiency or a lack thereof. So what does that look like? Well, we do know in the verse of Hebrews 11:6 that it is impossible to please God without faith. There's no other way. You can't be born with it. You can't earn it. You can't buy it. There's no other way. Only faith is the solution to pleasing God. Now, the faith that the writer here, what he talks about, is not only believing that God exists, that's the basis, but also it's a specific faith of a God who revealed himself in the form of his son that died for each and every one of us, that there was promises that were made that will be complete, and we are believing into that promise and faith. So we live that out here for life afterwards. And it's an eager anticipation and hope. Faith really is about focus. You may remember the story of Peter when he's on the boat and he sees Jesus in the distance, and Jesus calls him to come and walk on the water in Matthew 14:25-31. You remember what happens? Well, Peter's excited. He gets out of that boat and his eyes are fixed on Christ. And as long as those eyes are fixed, he's able to do the impossible. He's walking out that faith, just as Jesus was. But what happened next? Once the winds brought up the waves and he looked around and he began to lose his focus and get distracted, he began to sink. He started thinking about his own safety rather than keeping his eyes focused on the Savior. And so faith, in many ways, is similar to focus. What do we have our focus on in the midst of what you're facing now? Are we being distracted on other people or other things? Or are we trying to push those things aside and to keep our eyes focused on Christ? Because he is the prize, he's the one that's got you, and he will lift you up out of that. And that is what pleases the Lord, is our faith fully fixed on him. So I encourage you this week to do so, to keep your eyes focused on Christ and all that he has for you. Have a blessed week.